Welcome, cruisers. This is a picture of Marina Bay in Singapore, and it is the main place where you're going to dock if you are lucky enough to have Singapore on your itinerary. And you can actually go. That is the Marina Sands Casino and Hotel. You can actually go to the top of that. I'll tell you about that later. But if you don't know anything about Singapore, the only thing I knew about it is that they had strict drug laws and you couldn't have chewing gum. Well, you're in for a treat. So I'm going to tell you all the basics and give you some ideas of what you can do in your great day in Singapore. We'll get started. Port basics to get you started. What is nice about Singapore is you walk right off the ship. There is no tendering. The currency is the Singapore dollar, but this was another place that we did not get the local currency. We were able to completely function with just our credit cards and your phone, but I don't know. I wouldn't try Google Wallet, but I do know that the locals probably use something more like that. Immigration for U.S. citizens, we didn't have to do anything extra. Immigration was already taken care of. The languages, so Singapore has a very complex history: English, Malay, Tamil, Chinese, Mandarin. And because Singapore was a former English colony, almost everyone will speak English, at least a little bit. And it's probably going to have a different feeling than some of the other Malaysian countries. And the landscape is steep and hilly. I've got that little note there that the weather is hot and humid, but I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But the landscape is very much like some of the other tropical places that we visited at Cruiseport Captain, where near the waterfront it's pretty flat, but then once you start going a little bit more inland, it starts going up. Singapore has a tropical island, so there's a good chance you're going to be hot and sweaty. You can see like that average temperature. It stays pretty much the same throughout the year between 89 degrees Fahrenheit and 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can be very humid and sticky. And I am a Floridian, and we were really humid and sticky. And you'll see some of the photos. We look kind of miserable. Um, it goes with the territory. So just be ready for it to be hot, humid. Grab your water bottles and make sure you have plenty of sunscreen with you. Overall, it is a very walkable and clean port, so it's enjoyable to make it around on your own. Give you some general orientations about distances too. You can see down at the bottom there, kind of on the left side, that's where you're going to dock, and that's the Marina Bay, and that's where you saw from the opening shot the Marina Sands Hotel. And that's where a lot of action is. You could just spend all day there if you want to, between that and the gardens by the bay. The second place that you notice is if you go up a little bit further, that is the Buddha temple that has the Buddha relic in it. It is a relic that is Buddha's tooth, or so it is believed. And that is an old town in Chinatown, and that's a very popular place. And then the top one is the National Singapore Museum. So, just to give you a sense of distance wise, no, I mapped it walking, and even walking, it says it takes 1 hour and 20 minutes. 6 kilometers, which is about 3.2 miles for us who use the English system. So you can see it's pretty easy to get around on your own. I'm going to give you some options of how you can get around too if you don't want to do all that walking. I don't blame you. We didn't do it either. So we encourage you to plan every port day, and even there is so much to do here that I don't even have everything written down. I'm just going to point you to, if you go to getyourguide.com and look for Singapore and scroll down this entire sheet, you're going to see the big attractions that are available for you during the day. They have a Universal Studios there. There's all sorts of really nice tours that will give you an idea of where you're into star, what would make you excited when you have your time there. Something that affects your day in Singapore is really how long are you in port. Do you have a lot of time? Are you overnighting, or you only have a few hours? And make your plans accordingly from there. We always suggest pick your top one or two things that you want to do and make sure you get those done in time. And the rest of it's just enjoyable and icing on the cake. And as promised, these are your transportation options. And, The Kanappa's favorite option is walk, use our two legs. We do that most of the time, but they also have a very nice metro that is right next to the dock. So you can use that, and that'll take a couple of miles or maybe more off of your time on your legs. Not an unimportant thing when it's hot and humid and maybe raining outside. They also have rideshare service. It's not Uber, but it's Grab, and it works the same way. And you can see on the screen there, that's the icon for it. We used Grab in many Southeast Asian countries, and we had no problem at all. It worked just like it does at home with Uber or Lyft. And here I am. So you can see inside the metro, and you could looks really clean. Like I said, there is no gum anywhere. There is no trash anywhere, unlike a lot of metros in a lot of cities. And then there's also how it looks like to walk outside. This is pretty near the ship. I think we're going back to the ship at this point, and that is the Marina Bay Hotel and Casino behind me. One of the most popular destinations our site is the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple, and this is in Old Town, which is Chinatown. The Old Town is kind of a cluster of different towns like Chinatown, India Town. This is a very special temple. They are doing live chants at the same time, and it's a really interesting setup. You cannot take pictures inside where the Buddha relic is, but this may be something very special to you. Just a little note for those, so as it is a religious site and it is an active religious site, so you may need to be covered up. So in this particular case, you can see in the middle, I had shorts on. They did ask us to cover our legs. And then for my friend there, Paula, remember I said you meet all kinds of nice people on cruises. So we were with Paula and her daughter that we met on that cruise. Paula had a shirt on like myself, and they asked her to put a shawl around her um, shoulders. I don't know why I had such a hard time there, but it is really an impressive place. And if it is something that is meaningful or interesting to you, please check it out. Because there is so much to do in this particular port, I'm walking you through what we did during the day. So we first went to the Old Town Chinatown Buddha Temple. We walked around there for a while, and then we took a grab to our next place, which is going to be a museum. So I'll just kind of tell you how we went. So we didn't walk all of it. We did walk around Chinatown quite a bit, but then we took a grab to our next location. The first mate found this museum, the reflections at Bukit Chandu, and it was the site of a major battle in World War II. Now, this was very much off the beaten path. We were about the only people there. I don't even remember any cruise ships being there or cruise tours being there, but it was also a very impressive and meaningful um, place of a memorial to the amazing, that's not really the right word, but the fighting that went on in Singapore during that time and the heroic Malaysian troops that were there. So it was a very um, impactful place to me. I had nothing to expect, but when we go cruising, as we said, we really try to learn about the world. And this was one place that we thought was special. So if military history is something that is interesting to you and you don't know much about what happened in the South Pacific or Asian theater, we highly suggest this museum. With the caveat, though, we had a really hard time getting back. So the museum was about to close. We kept asking for a grab. The driver would pick it up, and then they would kind of realize where we were and they would decline the ride. So this one, to get to that museum, you might want to have a driver with you that stays with you, or that might be if you have a private driver that's driving you around all day so they can wait for you. So we did have a bit of a challenge. So what we ended up doing, because it was up on a hilltop, is that we walked down the hill, made our way to a mall, and from the mall, we could easily pick up a ride share. So, these are the things we learn along the way so we can tell you so you don't make the same, maybe mistakes, not the right word, but we learned a lesson that we hope you don't have to learn. Our next stop was the Singapore National Museum, but oh, bummer, man. We got there about 20 minutes before they were closed, and this was another very impressive place that we went in there and ran through it, but it deserved a lot more time. So in the future, we would do what we just told you to do. We typically do that, but for this time, I think, I don't know, we got a little wound up and a little off track. So the museum, we should have started there first, and then if we had time to go to the second museum up in the on the hill, that probably would have been a better thing to do. But you learn, and but from what we saw, you definitely want to put that on your day if that is the sort of thing culture and history interests you. And from the National Museum, you may remember from my map at the beginning, it really wasn't that far to walk back to Marina Bay. The sun had started to go down, the weather started getting to be more bearable, and we just had a nice time walking through the city. At night, they do a show on the bay, and that's why there are so many people there waiting. They do kind of a light fireworks show, which we were lucky enough to catch. So that's how we ended our day in Singapore. A really fantastic place. Excited you're getting to go there too. My bonus this around is that sometimes your itinerary changes. So the cruise lines will have to change the itineraries for many reasons, and almost always they're out of control of the ship. So there's really no use yelling at them because they can't do anything. Weather sometimes. And in this particular place, what was supposed to happen, we were supposed to have another port in Vietnam, and we were only going to be in Singapore one day. And, that was just the way it is. We planned it. But then for some reason, the Vietnamese authorities in that port said, nope, you're not coming here. So lucky us, the itinerary changed and we overnighted in Singapore. That was really nice because what we did is we went back to the ship and had dinner, and then we went back out. And our friends had dinner reservations at that casino hotel. And if we hadn't overnighted, they would not have been able to make it. So they got to have another wonderful experience that would have not been possible had we kept our original itinerary. So it's not always bad when your itinerary changes. Just, that is something, to use a naval pun, go with the flow. And because we had that extra day, we walked off the ship that morning and went to the gardens by the bay. That was really a special place. You absolutely have to make that a part of your itinerary. And when we were there, it was Chinese New Year, and that's why there's all those floats behind me. It's because they were celebrating really a joyous time in that region at that time of year. It's really something special to be there during Chinese New Year. And you'll also see on the right there, they had this huge long line of animals. They were just life-size animals. I can't even explain it. So you definitely have to check that out. So long story short, itinerary changes are not always bad. Just go with the flow and adapt. Thank you for watching all the way at the end to our day in Singapore. We hope that it is a great port for you as well. As always, if you have comments or suggestions, or questions, we find we're getting a lot of questions and we love that. Please leave those below. And as we are a small channel just beginning to grow, if you could do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. We've been cruising for a long time and we're just so excited that maybe you're getting a chance to explore the world now. If you have anything else that we can help you with, please let us know. Otherwise, make life a bon voyage. Bye.